Chapter 5. Is Troy in danger? When she climbed into bed that night, Emma felt calmer than she had in a long time. Her mom was fine, and Emma had enjoyed a wonderful ride on Troy. Best of all, she'd found out she wasn't the only horseback rider in town after all. She thought about the moment when she heard the sound of another horse's hooves approaching. For one terrifying instant she'd imagined that it was a dark bay horse with a star on its forehead. But when she caught sight of the horse, she saw to her relief that it was a light brown, long-legged riding horse who didn't resemble the horse in her nightmare at all. "Hi," called the girl who sat on the horse's back. "I believe it's the first time I've seen another horseback rider around here. Are you new in town?" Emma nodded. "My dad and I just moved here," she said. "The kids at school told me they didn't know of anybody else who rides, but I'm happy to see there is." The girl laughed. "I'm being home-schooled, so I guess that's why they don't know about me. We lived overseas for almost a year, and during that time Glory was boarded out of town. But we're back for good now, at least I hope so. I missed Glory so much it hurt. My name's Cheyenne, by the way." "My name's Emma," said Emma, "and I'm only borrowing this horse. His name is Troy." "Nice horse." Cheyenne nodded appreciatively. The two girls took a long ride together, talking non-stop. Emma liked Cheyenne a lot, and they agreed to go riding again together on Saturday. That was only 2 days from now. Emma was already looking forward to it. She let out a long yawn. What a great afternoon it had been. Her life seemed a lot brighter now that she'd found a friend who shared her interest in horses. Emma yawned again, and she knew that she was in the process of falling asleep. Tonight she wouldn't have any nightmares, she felt sure of it. And then she fell asleep with a happy smile on her face. Emma pressed her body against the wall, trying to escape the frightening hooves thrashing in the air. She was scared to death. She had to get out, away from here. But how could she get around the horse? And how could she help the girl who was crouched on the floor in a helpless attempt to escape the last crushing attack? It was getting harder and harder to breathe. It felt like all the oxygen was slowly but surely being sucked out of the sweltering hot room. The girl raised her arms as if she thought she could stop the enormous bay horse that way. Her eyes seemed to seek out Emma's as she shouted, "What happened once will happen again! Watch out! You must—" Emma didn't hear the rest. Suddenly it wasn't the other girl who was lying on the floor. It was Emma herself. The old stable had disappeared. She was in the new stable, and the horse was no longer a dark bay. "Troy!" whispered Emma, terrified. "No, you can't! Don't! No!" Like in a fog far, far away, she heard a voice shouting, "Emma, can you hear me? What's wrong with you? Emma, do you hear me?" A hand shook her shoulder, and she jumped up with a scream of terror. "Emma, honey, what is it? Did you have a bad dream?" For a moment the nightmare was still with her, but then Emma recognized her dad's face in the dark room. She fell back on the pillows, letting out a gasp of relief. It had only been a dream, a terrifying dream. "Please turn on the light," she mumbled, remembering vaguely that she'd left the nightlight on when she went to sleep. Maybe her dad had turned it off. "Sorry, the power is out again," said her dad, as he laid his hand on hers. It felt safe and warm. Emma realized she was shaking, even though it was nice and warm under the covers. Her dream had been so horribly real. She still felt like she could feel the suffocating feeling from the intense heat. "Tell me about your dream," said her dad, as he sat down on the edge of the bed. "It must have been a pretty bad nightmare, the way you screamed. It sounded like you were being attacked by a bunch of wild hippos or something." "Oh, Daddy, hippos!" Emma had to smile. She felt a little better. But while she told her dad about the nightmare, her feeling of fear came back. Her dad tried to reassure her that a dream is only a dream, no matter how scary it might be. But somehow she felt like this was more than a normal nightmare. That girl, Amelia, had tried to warn her about something. Emma thought about Troy's hooves hitting her. Would it happen for real? Troy, who was so kind and beautiful. Even though she'd only had him for a few days, she felt like she already knew him well enough to say she couldn't imagine him ever attacking anybody. Then why had she dreamt it? A scary thought occurred to her. What if the bay ghost horse somehow could bewitch Troy and make him become evil enough to attack her? What if he was out there in the stable right now, transferring his own evil into Troy? It was an unbearable thought. Why would the horse do anything like that? Troy hadn't done any harm to him. But of course that made no difference at all. Maybe he hated the thought of another horse living in his stable, even if it wasn't the same stable. Not really, but in the same spot, or close enough anyway. "I'll stay with you until you go back to sleep," her dad's voice interrupted Emma's frightened and confused thoughts. He stroked her hair. "Close your eyes. Tomorrow, when the sun is shining, everything will look different." Emma tried to relax and think about other things. The ride she and Cheyenne would be taking together. It would be so nice to have a friend who was also crazy about horses. Maybe they could build a riding ring together, make some little jumps, paint them with pretty colors. Her great plans dissolved and disappeared into nothing. Emma was asleep.